Hey Airbnb family, so I'm about to shoot a module for the course that's coming out in about a week. This is going to be the SEO module, which is pretty much everything you need to know about how to rank your listing. I'm giving the rough draft away for free. So you're gonna actually watch me record our SEO module, and I'm gonna talk about a lot. So this will be a longer live stream, and this will be the only time you'll see it. We may take this down in the future, but basically this is going to be free for all of you current subscribers who have already been watching and faithful and loving all the free content. So this will be one big chunk of free content about how to rank on Airbnb. So there's a lot that goes into it, but effectively the goal is to design your listing a certain way and have your listing behave a certain way that allows you to have first page rankings when people view your listing. And so I'm about to turn on a camera and start recording the actual module that we're going to publish on the course. So if you're watching along now, buckle up, let's go. So let me turn this camera on. All right, welcome back to Cracking Superhost. So today's module is about Airbnb SEO. Essentially, SEO is how Airbnb ranks your listing on the platform. There's something called an algorithm which decides who gets to be on the first page and who doesn't when somebody's searching on the Airbnb platform. There's a lot of factors in play here, so we're going to go over the largest chunks of them and the ones that are most actionable to you, so that way you, of course, can be on the first page of Airbnb as often as possible. So when you're creating your listing, what we want to start for is listing completion. Essentially, Airbnb wants to see that your listing has been thought out and has everything in it that matters. So first off, Airbnb photo count. First, you need to have your photos be horizontal. We should give a nod to that. Horizontal photos actually influence your ranking and the quality of them. Airbnb's algorithm can tell if a photo is blurry or too dark, and so you need quality horizontal layout photos, but most importantly, you need to have at least 8 photos on your listing. If you don't have at least 8 photos, your SEO or your listing ranking goes down. And of course, the less impressions you get, the less you'll get viewed. And views actually increase your ranking too, which we'll talk about in a second. So first one is you need at least 8 photos in your listing when you create it. Next is categories. So for completion on categories, when you first create your listing, you're looking at the description and you're describing how wonderful your property is. There's going to be other categories like getting around, guest access, other things guests need to know. And in our other module where we created the listing earlier in the course, you saw how we filled out each one of those. Essentially what this means is you need to have 5 of those boxes, 5 of those description boxes filled out, so that way Airbnb counts it as a complete listing. If you just do the title and description and then don't fill out anything else, you get a SEO decrease. What's funny though is only about 30% of Airbnb hosts actually fill out enough to qualify for that. So you outperform 70% of the Airbnb community. If you just have 5 categories, that's one big boost. Next is amenities. We're not going to get too nerdy on this, but this is called a Boolean search, which is a yes or no search. So essentially, you want every single possible yes box checked. And so, for example, Instant Book is an immediate yes box. If you don't have Instant Book, then people who are searching on Airbnb can actually choose Instant Book as an option, and you won't even show up. If people are searching for a pool, this may be outside of your control depending on the listing that you have, but if you have a pool and people are searching for one, you'll show up. If you don't have a pool, you won't show up at all. So things like guest count, whether or not you have coffee, Wi-Fi, a TV, free parking, a pool, gym, and in our previous module where we went over all the amenities boxes, essentially every single amenity box that you possibly can check, you want to check, because whether or not you get filtered out is the easiest way to kind of lose ranking. So these are the completion sides of completing your listing. Now let's look at bottlenecks next, because this is what you can do to get more, but there's some things you need to avoid in order to not lose your listing ranking. So let's just wipe this away and let's look at bottlenecks. So essentially what a bottleneck is, for example, will be, let's write that here. So a bottleneck would be, like we said, Instant Book. All right, let's dry that off. So Instant Book, if you do not have Instant Book on, you will pretty much immediately lose about 35 to 40% of your listing presence, because many people when they're searching will click Instant Book. It's just a thing. So another one is minimum stays. So a lot of Airbnb hosts will have a minimum stay requirement. And basically what this means is your calendar could be open. You could have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday available. And today's a Monday, and somebody wants to stay today. and leave tomorrow, but if you have a 2-day minimum, you won't show up. That minimum stay keeps you from showing up. You just got filtered out again. So another one is, we'll call it booking lead time. This is more than just days in advance, but for example, so for booking lead time, you could either have it where somebody can arrive same day, which is essentially the same story. Somebody's here on a Monday, they want to check in on Monday and leave on Tuesday. But if it's 11 p.m. on Monday, and your listing has it where the latest somebody can book with you is 10 p.m., and they're looking to book at 11 p.m., then you're filtered out again. So that's 2 examples of booking lead time. So you should have your listing set up where people can arrive same day, and you have to go back in after publishing your listing and go to availability settings and reset that from 10 p.m. all the way up to midnight. That's another one. So another one is cancellation policies, and this is the only one that I don't recommend you change. We will suffer a little bit on this. We have our listings set as strict, and we talk about this in our pricing strategy. Our cancellation policy is strict, even though people who have moderate cancellation policies do technically get more views. We still keep it as strict because at the end of the day, you will make more money by being strict instead of being moderate. And so these are essentially your bottlenecks. Now, let's look at listing performance, okay? So you have your listing set up. Everything is beautiful. Your listing is nice and complete. You don't have any of these bad bottlenecks. Now, the things that actually influence your ranking once your listing has been created, first off, is view count. Can you believe that the more views you get, the more likely that you're going to end up on the first page? So this is cyclical. You need to first get views in order to get on the first page. And then once you have more views, you stay more likely on the first page. So what's cool about this is Airbnb helps you get more views by looking at the age of your listing. There's kind of a weird gap here. You get a boost when you're new, and then your listing kind of goes through this credit score like chart like that. You get an initial boost on your listing age to get more views immediately, to help you get the views that help you recur on the first page. But then when your listing is only 4, 5, 6, 7 months old, if you don't have a lot of reviews, it affects your ranking based on age. And so how the age influences your listing's ranking is you'll compile more reviews, which leads me to the next one, which is reviews. Now, reviews are twofold. You have total count, and we're gonna call it weight. So the more total reviews you get, if you have 1,000 reviews on your listing, you will perform better with 1,000 reviews at a 4.5 star rating than a listing that has 10 reviews at a 4.8. Okay, so total count influences your ranking as opposed to just the average weight of your listing's ranking. So age will inevitably give you more reviews and your ranking will go up over time. So those are 3 behaviors there. And then other ones are gonna be KPIs, all right? So let's delete these. Okay, so views leads to more views. Airbnb helps you get views by giving you an SEO boost over 3 months. The first 3 months of your listing being new, you get a boost in search rankings automatically, and then after that, it's going to rely heavily on your view count and weight and your total views. So next, your KPIs, which is key performance indicators. If Airbnb was going to sit you down and have a meeting with you about what you're doing good and what you're doing bad, those would be called KPIs. So let's look at messaging as one. So your messages, it's more than just the fact that you send messages or respond. So you have a response rate, which you see. This is the one that you can actually see on the Airbnb platform. It'll tell you that your response rate is 95%, 98%. You need to have a 90% plus response rate to be a superhost, right? But you should have a 100% response rate in order to have really good SEO, because you can respond to every message within 24 hours. There's no excuse not to. Now, more so response time. So not just response rate, but response time. This is a hidden metric that they don't show you how fast you're responding to messages, but they will tell your guests how fast you typically tend to respond, and the faster the better. A lot of people say you want to respond faster than an hour because that's just the fastest that Airbnb will report to a guest that you respond, but if you can respond within just minutes, it still helps because your weighted average response time is based on the literal response time of every single message. So if a lot of your response times are like 2 minutes, it helps kind of make up for some times where you're just a little bit slower. Make sense? So your response rate and your response time, and then we've got acceptance. So this one's a fun one because you mostly always will accept all of your reservations if you're on Instant Book. But if you have filters like you require a photo ID or a government ID or something like that, in order for somebody to book. They could be on Instant Book, but they still have to go through a verification process where they request to book with you. Another time where somebody will send you a request instead of just instant booking is if your check-in window says after 4 p.m., like ours does, but they want to check in at noon, they will put a request. Airbnb won't allow the instant book. They'll allow you to pretty much accept whether or not that person can stay with you with a noon check-in time, right? So that's another time that instant book doesn't happen. So even if you're on instant book, you need to be watching your message thread and your inboxes for your acceptance. And you'll need to accept those guests. If you do not accept everyone, if you decline people, in order to be a superhost, you need to accept more than 88% of all guest requests. But declining any of them is actually bad for your SEO again. Fun, right? So watch out for these even if you're on Instant Book. And then the last one is cancels. So you want to have 0 cancels. Airbnb now changed it where to be a superhost before you had to have 0 cancels in a year. But now that there's professional hosts like us with many listings, they've changed that to under 1% cancellation. So if you have 100 listings or 101 bookings, you can have 1 cancellation and still be superhost, but those cancellations negatively affect your SEO ranking. Make sense? So overall, I think that's actually all of our KPIs. So overall, you create your listing. You need to have good listing presence by having a complete listing, good descriptions, completed descriptions, have great photos, and then you're gonna get clicked on. That click-through gives you the views. The views help you get more first-page rankings. And then the age of your listing, of course, and the more reviews you get, the more ranking you get. And then Airbnb will look at your behavior on how you're treating your guests through the messages, and of course your response rates and acceptance and cancels, and they put all of that into one kind of big, one big algorithmic scorecard, and this is largely the majority of how your SEO ranking works. Now, how do you have a better ranking? Let's hack some of this, right? Why not? Let's fight dirty. How do you get a better SEO ranking? By doing some things beyond what normal hosts do. So the first thing that you can do is you can gain your view system a little bit. So there's another one which we didn't touch on, but this is twofold now. The more wish lists you are on, the more ranking you get, right? So just by being on people's wish lists, you end up on a higher ranking. So Airbnb actually gives you a bump for being favorited. But what's cool about wish lists is they are Google indexed. How cool is that? So basically, when you write your listing, what I want you to do is we're gonna do 2 things. We're going to design wish lists that have names, and you're gonna create wish lists that you put your own listings in. So for example, let's say you're in Chicago. You will have, like, say, 5 separate wish lists of your own design that say large homes in Chicago, last minute stays in Chicago, big apartments in Chicago, central Chicago homes. You're gonna create keyword heavy phrases that people might Google search when they're looking to stay somewhere in Chicago. You basically name a wish list a keyword search. And so we're looking at 3 words or longer, minimum. So we're gonna say this 3 words or longer. If you go longer than 3 words, I think you're technically what's called a long tail search, where if you match perfectly the 4 words that somebody searches on Google when they're looking, if your wish list has the exact same name, you pop up on the first page of Google, not just the first page of Airbnb. And then somebody clicks on the wish list and it takes you, or takes them, to a small short curation of only your properties, right? So now you've bypassed Airbnb and you've got Google conversions. So that's one way to do it with wish lists. So you're increasing your own ranking by being added to wish lists, but now you're also increasing your ranking by getting off-platform conversions onto Airbnb and upping your view count. You might even get actual bookings from this too, which means you're getting bookings without even needing to worry about Airbnb SEO. Isn't that cool? So now another one. Let's talk about some more Google stuff because Google matters. So in that same way, we're going to talk about how you have a title and you have a description, and these are going to be the 2 things that are also Google indexed, right? So your title should essentially be keyword heavy. So we put a king bed in all of our apartments whenever we can, if it can fit, because even though there's not a Boolean, like we talked about the amenities like checkboxes, there's not an amenities checkbox or a Boolean for king beds, but we'll write in our title description, king bed apartment. Because when somebody's on Google looking up like hotels in Houston with king bed, Airbnb listings show up when people search for hotels, and the fact that our title says there's a king bed, it's huge. We have a listing in Houston that's a 2-bedroom apartment with a king bed in each room, and anytime somebody's searching for king bed apartments in Houston, we're like showing up on the first page of Google. That's which is wicked. So your title should be like ranked based on like having a king bed. If you have a pool, you have a gym, free parking, anything that somebody searches for on Google when they're searching for a home should be on there, and then your description just the same. So the first like 3 lines, which may be about 140 characters maybe total, will also be indexed. So when your listing pops up on Google, it's going to show your title, it's going to show your thumbnail, I believe, and then it's going to show the first 140 characters of your listing description. And that shows up in what's called the metadata of your listing. So when people are searching on Google, both of these come into play on whether or not you rank on the first page. So this is one way to hack your Airbnb SEO by doing stuff off platform. Now, other ways to hack your Airbnb SEO, why don't we just keep going, right? Let's keep jamming. So, other ways to hack your Airbnb SEO. Facebook, social media. There's 2 ways to increase your listing ranking with Facebook and social media. First off, you can backlink. And so a backlink is where you take your listing and you get it shared. So when you try to get your listing shared, the only thing that really matters for backlinking is that that cannot be a paid promotion. If somebody shares your listing willingly or shares your wish list, which is kind of like 2 layers of this, if whatever link they share of yours without it being a paid promotion or like a sponsored ad campaign, your ranking on Google goes up. So you're more likely to be Google searched if you backlink your wish lists and your listings online. So you create a Facebook page like for your business, like your corporate housing or vacation rentals website, and you have all your listings shown on social media. You create blogs that people are like sharing stories and stuff. So you can have your own website, and it doesn't have to be fancy. You have a website with a blog. It does not have to have a booking engine, all right? Which we'll talk about in our 3rd course when you're operating $1 million plus cash flow business. We'll talk about your own straight booking engine, but you can have your own website with blogs about your city, about travel, things like travel tips, places to eat, and you embed your listings as backlinks into your website. Now you share those blogs on Facebook, right? So now you're getting multiple backlinks because that blog is getting opened by people, and there's backlinks for that on Facebook. You're getting a lot of ranking out of this, which is fun. And you should do the same thing with wish lists. I truly believe that wish lists are the game changer in this. You should be backlinking your wish lists that have the curation of your homes. So also, let's go back to Facebook, because I want to talk about websites just for the sake of backlinking and blogging. But on websites like Facebook, you can then create groups. So this is great for vacation homes in really strange places like Costa Rica or Thailand. You can create Facebook groups that you moderate. You cannot be the only player in the game because it will come off as unauthentic, but essentially you'll have like vacation homes in Thailand, vacation homes on Copenhagen, or vacation homes in Prague, right? And you're gonna create these groups where people are like, hey, my family's coming in for 4 days. We're looking for, a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom home for 4 or 5 days. And by having this group, people are available as resources to let people, of course, stay with them. And you being the moderator, you kind of get the pick of the litter. You can bully the system a little bit, but you have to be fair. If you want that group to be successful, then the group actually performs well on Facebook, and then you get the most traffic out of it. So you have to be fair, otherwise it won't survive. So these are the main ways to hack your Airbnb SEO, is by creating backlinks that you can put on Facebook, get better Google rankings by keyword loading your titles and your descriptions, and then of course your behavior above all things as a host, getting good reviews, getting lots of reviews, making sure that you have a complete listing with all the amenities filled out. This is Airbnb SEO, and my listings have about double the first page impressions. Let's give you a screencast here on the course. We have double the first page impressions than all of our competitors, and we have 3 times the clicks of our competitors. And that allows us to really jam our pricing strategy, which is we talked about in our pricing module, that we want more long-term bookings, multi-week or multi-month. And the fact that we can get so many impressions allows us to get all of the bookings. So this is the SEO module, and let's move on to the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions about this, maybe I missed something, and we'll just do a edit on this module. If you have any other questions about SEO, or you think that I missed anything on this, be my guest. But thanks for watching, and of course, if you want more of this stuff, it'll be on the course. But without any other further ado, I'm gonna get back to work. I've got to finish this thing in the next week. So thanks for watching Airbnb Automated.